The Pokemon anime has had over 1100 episodes and has seen Ash travel to 8 different regions. Apart from Pokemon Journeys, the first episode of each series is usually the episode which sees Ash arrive in the brand new region ready to explore. Some series have done this a lot better than others, so in today's video I wanted to take a look at every transition period from one region to another. For example, when Ash finishes up his journey and sets off on a new one. The most important things that make a smooth transition from one region to another are the following. Firstly, it has to stay true to where Ash is at his journey. For example, the Unova series did this very poorly, by making him completely different and making him forget basics early on in his journey.
Let's catch a Pokemon!
You don't get it. You act like a little kid. If you want to catch it, you've got to battle it.
I knew that!
For us to feel like we're watching the same show, we want some nice continuity from the series that we just watched before. Ash's clothes have been a good sign of a smooth transition. A few occasions we've seen him change clothes within the episode, and other times, such as Diamond and Pearl, he actually keeps on the same clothes from the previous region until a few episodes into the series. The most important thing that it just makes sense from a narrative point of view, and that it feels like a true continuation of the show and of the characters that we are following. I think the best way to see what truly is the smoothest transition would be to rank each of them, and seeing as I'm a guy who likes to rank things, I thought it would be a perfect opportunity. So here's my list from worst to best, ranking each of the regional transitions. To make things easier, I'm not going to be including Kanto to the Orange Islands and the Orange Islands to Johto, but I will include Johto to Hoenn. This is mainly because all of these regions were a part of the same series, being the original series, so they didn't really mix things up massively like some other series did. There were some really solid transitions because they had the same set of characters and they weren't really changing things up. So the transition that I feel was done the worst was probably the obvious choice, being X and Y into Sun and Moon. Two fantastic series in their own right, with so many unique qualities about them, but they did a really poor job of bringing them together for a smooth transition. Ash leaving Kalos was fantastic. There were some great moments with him saying bye to his friends, one final battle with Clemont, and of course the kiss between Ash and Serena.
Hey Ash, there's just one more thing.
But I'm not ranking the endings of the regions. The only things we really got were a phone call from Ash to his mum and Professor Oak, and then after him saying bye to Serena, Clemont and Bonnie, he hops on the plane, heads back to Pallet Down, but we don't really get to see anything else. He tells his mum his home, and then it pans out in a different type of ending screen. Rather than next time a new adventure, we see And to Our Own Way, which was a reference to the X and Y games. This is a really nice ending to a great series. The animation of Pallet Town at night is probably the best we've ever seen, but we don't get any interaction with Ash and Professor Oak or his mum. None of Ash's old Pokemon turn up. We get nothing. And then the next episode he is already in Alola riding a Sharpedo underwater. So that is why the transition is the weakest for me. I also think the massive art style change had a big impact for people. I know I wasn't a big fan of it at first. I did grow to like it, but for some people it might have put them off the series because if you compare the two, they don't really look like the same show. Next up is the most recent one we've got, being Sun and Moon to Pokemon Journeys. Now this one is very different to all the rest because in Pokemon Journeys Ash isn't going to a new region, he's just heading home and then going to Vermilion City to live with a different professor. The last episode of Sun and Moon did a great job of wrapping up every character's stories in a very satisfying way, and even giving Ash a goal of continuing to explore the world, which is being executed in Pokemon Journeys. The final few scenes are of Ash getting on a plane and leaving in a very dark airport. It's really a sad scene seeing Ash leave behind his Alolan family, and a great send off to the Sun and Moon series.
Burnett and I will be here for you for the rest of your life, no matter where you go or what you do, right?
Kukui speaks for both of us.
We don't actually see him arrive home, and this is the first time ever that Ash has not been back in Pallet Town for the last episode of a series, which is another reason to put it quite low. So Pokemon Journeys picks back up in an unusual way. We get a flashback episode which shows Pikachu when it was a Pichu, and how it evolved into Pikachu. We also see flashbacks of Ash as a kid and Go as a kid. It was a nice way to start the series off, but certainly not the strongest of introductions. Episode 2 starts out in the present day with Ash back in Pallet Town sleeping, and rehashes an old scene from him breaking his alarm clock. It was a nice way to get us back into the series, and we got an amazing shot of Ash's shelf with loads of old references to old trophies and gym badges. going all the way back to the Indigo League. This was the best bit of continuity that we got, and I loved it. He meets up with Professor Oak and they travel to the lab, and Oak asks him if he still wants to become a Pokemon Master, and of course he says yes, restating his dreams once again. The transition was still bad for me, but I think it was a bit better than X and Y just because we actually got to see some of Pallet Town at the start of the new series. We got some more interactions with Oak and Delia, but it still could have been a bit better interactions with some of his old Pokemon, or even a reference to the fact that he just won the Alola League. It seems that this is broken up into 3 bad transitions and 3 pretty good ones, and this being the last of the bad ones, from Diamond and Pearl into Black and White. The Black and White anime in general was a massive change up with the anime, as Ash seemed to be dumbed down and forget basic things that he'd done hundreds of times before in previous regions. It was tough for us fans, having just spent over 400 episodes with this character, to have everything we've watched just be thrown away. Fortunately they didn't stick with this, things got better, but this made for a bad transition from Sinnoh to Unova, because you had Ash take down a Latios with his Pikachu, and then just 3 episodes later Pikachu lost to a level 5 Snivy. This example has been used countless times, but this adds to my point that the transition from Sinnoh to Unova was done poorly. The last episode of Diamond and Pearl did some really good things. The goodbye to Dawn and Piplup were done amazingly, and they're really emotional. It made us feel really sad and remember all the good times we've had with Dawn over the last few years. And then an even better goodbye in my opinion was Ash and Brock. This one really hit me hard. They find themselves at the same place they were where they parted ways at the end of the Advanced generation, but rather than Ash running off, there was a very small goodbye, but it was done perfectly, with Ash telling Brock that he can accomplish his new dream to become a Pokemon Doctor, and Brock telling Ash that he can become a Pokemon Master.
You can do it, Pokemon Dr. Brock.
Pokemon Master Ash, you can too.
Being a massive Brock fan, this was such a fantastic moment, and probably the best goodbye we've seen between these 2 long-term friends. That pretty much wraps up Diamond and Pearl. Ash doesn't even make it back to his house before the credits roll, so it's similar to X and Y in that way. Black and White kicks us off with Ash getting ready to set off on his new journey in his bedroom. This was pretty good. I like when Ash begins his journey at home. It was better than him already being in the new region like they did with Sun and Moon. You see a bunch of trophies and collectibles from Sinnoh, which was also a very nice touch. Ash heads off with Professor Oak and Delia to the Unova region, and it was cool that both Oak and Delia went with him to start his new journey off. It's something they'd never done before. He didn't actually plan on staying in the Unova region until he got there and decided to, which was also a nice mix-up. I think the transition has some good points, but for me it was not done smooth enough. Similar to the 2 below, I would have liked to see some more interactions with his old Pokemon, and maybe something a bit different in Pallet Town. The transition that I think is the 3rd best is from the Advanced generation to Diamond and Pearl. This one didn't need to be anything special, as they'd already had a very big episode at the end of Hoenn to transition into the Battle Frontier, which was probably a better episode than this one. But this one still does a very good job of bringing us into Diamond and Pearl, finishing up Battle Frontier with an excellent contest battle between Ash and May, where they both tie the match and end up splitting the ribbon. It was a nice way to finish up Ash and May's travels together, but unfortunately Ash's goodbye to Brock was done poorly, as Ash just runs home without really saying much. But we got a better goodbye from them 2 in Diamond and Pearl, as I've already spoken about. Ash heads back to the lab and he's greeted on his way home by none other than Gary Oak. This was perfect. Everyone else already appeared in the Advanced generation at the end of Hoenn, everyone but Gary. So seeing him in this episode to tell us about Sinnoh was great. And we also got a battle. This was similar to how just when he got back from the Orange Islands, after winning the Orange League, Gary came to show him there's a lot stronger trainers out there. And this was the same with this time, with Ash winning the Battle Frontier and then losing to Gary in battle. And then Gary tells him about the Sinnoh region. This transition wasn't a massive spectacle with all his friends, but it was nice and simple switch up. Ash gets on the boat for Sinnoh and he's followed by his Apom, which he caught in the Battle Frontier. This also made it better because Ash didn't get much time with Apom, so having him bring it to Sinnoh was just a great way of crossing over the 2 regions. We just have to try and forget that he traded it to Dawn just to be released to play ping pong. Overall, this transition was really solid. I love the fact that Gary returned. It was really a great way of introducing a brand new region to Ash, and it set us up for a fantastic series. So the Black and White anime is famously known as one of the weakest, but one thing it does really well is setting up the next series, which would be X and Y. Ash was a big dummy in the Black and White series, but in the last episode it was like the old Ash was returning. It felt like a re-emergence of his dream to become a Pokemon Master. He returned to Pallet Town with Alexa, who was a new character from the X and Y games. which was an even better way of introducing a new region. We spent the whole episode in Pallet Town with Ash, Professor Oak, Delia and Alexa. Still no Tracy though, I'm pretty sure he was fired. We see Ash's room once again with the collectibles going all the way back to Diamond and Pearl, which is also some very solid continuity. And then Ash spends a bit of time in the lab. Unfortunately we don't actually see many of his old Pokemon appear. Bulbasaur is with Ash for most of the episode, which was nice, being one of his most popular and important Pokemon. And we of course see all of his Unova Pokemon, but other than that we don't see any others apart from the giant group photo with all of his Pokemon, which we got in the Japanese version only. This was a nice touch, but we still could have done with some actual interactions with them. Also, I'd love to see another shot like this where all of his Pokemon, again after Pokemon journeys, take a picture together. So Alexa and Ash head to the Kalos region and Delia gives him some brand new clothes and he puts them on during this episode, which was cool to see him wearing his X and Y clothes right in the end of the Black and White series. They hop on a plane and head to the Kalos region. Ash arrives in Kalos and it's like he's brought with him all of his defeats from Black and White and he's grew so much as a trainer. This was a great transition and that's why I think it's the second best one that we got. Finally we arrive at the best Pokemon region transition in my opinion, and of course it is the original series going into the advanced generation. Back when Pokemon was very simple and it kept a lot more continuity with the characters and the story spanning over multiple regions. This pick is an obvious choice because we got a lot more time than other regions. Gotta Catch You Later to this day remains one of my favourite episodes because of how well we executed the end of a journey, with Ash, Brock and Misty all parting ways for the first time since the beginning. We'd been with these characters for so long and it was finally time to say goodbye. It was really sad as a fan of the show to watch it, but it was a great moment and Misty's song made for an even more emotional send-off.
I guess you guys should go now. Okay. Take care.
We'll miss you.
Three part ways and Ash heads back to Pallet Town. He sees Gary again one more time, who's also setting out on his new goal to become a Pokemon researcher, which of course makes Ash question what is his next journey going to be. Ash decides there is no time to sit around, he wants to head straight to the Hoenn region. It was cool that he got told about the Hoenn region so early on. Similar to how he met Alexa in Black and White, Ash met Harrison in Johto, who is from the Hoenn region. And we even saw a flashback of Professor Birch in the series, and some brand new Hoenn Pokemon. Ash gets home and he's had some moments with Oak, Delia and Tracy. He gets some new clothes of course from Delia, and he's ready to set off to Hoenn. The next episode is a strange one because it's a whole episode with Ash on the cruise heading to Hoenn, something we've never really seen before. Usually he just arrives in the new region in the next episode, but I think the episode makes the transition even better. We actually see his journey from Pallet Town to Little Root Town. There's even a few instances where he tries to bring out his old Pokemon like Bayleaf, but then he forgets that he's left them behind, which is an example of just how quick he decided to go on his journey. When he gets to the Hoenn region he meets up with May and Professor Birch, and we also get a few moments in the following episodes where Max talks about how Ash only made it to the top 16 of the Johto League, which is more continuity to previous regions. And then of course Brock shows up in episode 4 of the Advance to complete the lineup. Overall this transition is the best in my opinion, mainly because the Pokemon anime kept the continuity very tight. With the later seasons they haven't really done that, but this is why I think this was the best way to introduce us to a new region. Please let me know your thoughts on this. I don't really hear this spoken about too much, but these episodes are some of my favourites. I always look forward to seeing how they're going to bring in the new region, and if we're going to see some of Ash's lab Pokemon or old companions and rivals. For the most part these are good episodes, but the lower parts of the list definitely left a lot to be desired. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe if you did, and I'll see you next time.